Hey guys, Buckeye Bar guys. We wanted to thank you guys for tuning in to us here on Buckeye Bar Talk. Great show we got coming up today. We're really looking forward to you guys listening and watching it. But just wanted to remind everybody, just remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the all notifications bell, and that way, anytime a new show comes up, you guys will be alerted to it. And don't forget to like the video and comment on the video. All interactions with us helps us continue to grow, and we appreciate your support. Now to the show. Welcome back, everybody, to Buckeye Bar Talk. Buckeye Bar Guys here on Buckeye Bar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
And tonight's date is Wednesday, August 24th, 2022. And we are officially, as of today, 10 days away from the kickoff. Probably be 9 days by the time everybody gets to see or listen to this. So we are coming up on the season, so that's pretty cool. We got
very excited.
Week 0 this week, which is always stupid to me. That's
why isn't now week 1? I mean,
like, I hate when they do stuff like that. It's like, the first 4 and then the round 1 like that they do for basketball, but whatever. I mean,
just start the season next weekend.
Yeah. I mean, so we got that'd be cool. At least cool kickoff. We got a Nebraska Northwestern game out over in Ireland at 12:30, I believe. So that would be at least it's football. So, I'm excited about that. And then we got going into next week, we got, Penn State, Purdue kicks off the Big Ten. Well, it's the second teams to kick off the Big Ten season. Technically, the Big Ten kicks off this weekend, but, they'll be next Thursday. So, that'll be pretty, I think could be a pretty good game. And then some big action coming over, on the weekend, including our game against Notre Dame. So pretty stoked about that as we get ready for the season. So basically today we're going to just quickly go over Perry Eliano. He had a press conference yesterday. It was for the safeties. I know Walton talked too, but his audio was just a little harder to hear. And I think we both listened to the Eliano thing, and I haven't listened to Walton yet. So I think that's why we'll be just skipping over that one. Sorry, we got a little buzzing on headphones.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll get into that, and then we're going to just our season predictions, team predictions, stat predictions, and season predictions for everybody. And go with that. That's how we're gonna finish out the show. So all right, so Eliano talked yesterday. He had I thought a lot of good things to say. I really like him. I think he just needs to have a kind of a good season under his belt with the safeties, and then I think he was going to be a hell of a recruiter. I think he's energetic. A lot of people like him. I think he's going to fit in really well, once he proves himself. Couple of just the big highlights that he mentioned that we talked a lot about Lathan Ransom. I mean, it just sounds like the kid has just got such a motor to try to get back, to, playing and stuff like that. I mean, they talked about he pretty much any opportunity, that they've gotten to go home, he's pretty much just stayed and worked out. And I mean, it sounds like not only is he back, but he could be a big time contributor.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's crazy to think about that. You're going to have 2 safeties playing pretty big roles that, a year ago, and one was the second game of the season with Proctor, but a year ago, I mean, they both broke their legs. So,
yeah,
I mean, Ransom, we're talking about, January 1st.
Yeah.
I mean, that kid is not even a full, 8 months healed.
I figured he would be available to come back this year. I never thought it was going to be the opener.
No.
And I thought it was going to be like halfway through the year. And then the team was going to have to make a decision whether
redshirt him or not.
Yeah. So that was always kind of my feelings on it, that, he'd be ready around midseason, but they might not play him. They might, decide that it's just better at that point to wait him a year unless they absolutely need him. It would be like a, break window for emergency that, we need a safety and he's ready to play.
Yeah.
But, I mean, not only is he ready to play, I mean, he's one of the 6 safeties. I mean, he's basically backing up,
any of them. I mean,
it sounds like that. That's another thing Eliano talks about, that they all have to pretty much know everybody's position because, he wants to play the 3 best and, they're kind of interchangeable in spots. I mean, And I think probably for two of those positions are definitely true. I mean, I want to kind of see how the nickelback kind of that nickel one goes, because since he's more the cover one, that I don't know if he's completely interchangeable. That position's completely interchangeable, but I think there's between safeties and possibly a couple corners that they have depth at that spot. So that's not a big deal, but it definitely sounds like he really wants them all kind of geared to go, that, you could be rotating in various between the positions.
Yeah, I mean, so it still baffles me that he's already ready to be playing, which is awesome. I also just really enjoyed Eliano's press conference. So you can tell he's a guy that takes it to heart to really connect with the kids. Um, which I mean, that's a good thing, because one half of the secondary coaches that they're replacing, and nothing against Matt Barnes, but Kerry Combs, that was really a big thing for him, was be energetic.
Yeah.
Kind of, I mean, I think Kerry more so, even though I know he was that big type of, like, we're a family type guy, but his thing was energy through the roof, was kind of like what everyone thought about with Kerry Combs. I don't know if anybody can ever really replicate that, because he was just one in a kind, and he also always had great press conferences. But I mean, Eliano, you can definitely tell, he's a guy that takes teaching the game very seriously. He said that, I want people that can learn so I can teach them, and they can soak this all up, but also that, he really wants to connect with his players as well. That's a, huge thing for him, that not only is it like people he can teach to be better, but also people that he can make a family.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I like you. I think recruiting is going to take off once the season gets going.
Yeah. I think the big thing with Eliano is just that you don't need a full room of coaches like him that is, kind of just being, able to connect with the players, like you're saying, but you definitely need a few of those guys on the thing, because you got to have guys to be able to make it personable for the players on the thing. I mean, he's definitely a guy who comes off as like, he wants to know what's going on in your life. How's your parents doing? If you have any issues, you can bring them to me and we'll discuss them. How's your girlfriend? How's your dog? I can probably guarantee he remembers people's names,
Yeah.
And when I say, family members' names, probably because, all that stuff goes with all that. And he just comes off as one of those guys. So I think that's definitely important. He did say, kind of somebody asked him about Court Williams, about him being a captain. And he did come off and say, he's like, he wasn't surprised that, Court's a different type of leader. He's not really, a kind of rah necessarily leader, but he's goes over to players and and talks to them, and coaches them up, and if they made a mistake, and and which is very important for a leadership role in the team. And so he said that he was not surprised at all that he got voted a captain there.
Yeah, and I got no issue with guys that aren't necessarily like vocal leaders. I think you do need a few of them, though, as your captains, but you need guys that, are examples on the field as well. So I think where you get into situations when you got guys that, they're not playing their best and they're also not a vocal leader, that there's nothing that they're really bringing to the table as a captain. So you got to be able to do it one of the two phases. If you can do it both on the field and, rile up the guys on the bench as well, that's a plus. That's awesome. But the guys that hey, I'm not playing a great game, I'm going to be quiet today, like, they don't help anybody. So you need some sort of spark from your captain.
Yep. You need leadership through, being able to vocalize the leadership when you have to do it. But you also need leadership that, you got to lead by example. So I think probably with a lot of these captains, especially Court, that, he goes out, he proves himself, and people see that this is the correct way of doing. He's obviously in positions. I mean, Knowles has talked about him. You got Eliano talking about him. Days talked about him, where it seems like instead of maybe it seems like probably going against schools like Notre Dame and stuff, that I think they want to try the stay in the nickel package with just having Court Williams in the game more than trying to bring a third linebacker into the game, that they think they're more versatile that way. So, I mean, that says a lot to him that, let's try it this way first. And then before we go to a 4-3 and,
I mean, let's be honest. I don't know if Court, is he a linebacker at the next level? I mean, he's a big safety.
Yeah. No, I he could be. And I think, and that just helps him going forward too. I mean, if you can show, because I mean,
this guy's already the size or bigger than Nakobe Dean.
Like I definitely, I see him. He's going to be in games this year where it doesn't even mean he doesn't necessarily need to be in, because, that they don't necessarily need the big safety, but he's still going to be in those games.
Right.
And so, like, I think this gives him a lot of opportunities to show off a lot of things. And he had a great Rose Bowl. I mean, you think a lot of those defensive players that, we'll talk about some of them coming up here and when we start doing our predictions, but like, I mean, he definitely from that game proved that, he definitely deserves a chance. I know Knowles was a clean slate after that, but obviously Knowles, feels the same way now because, it seems like he is getting that chance. So it sounds like after Eliano talked about him today that he definitely seems like he's captain worthy, which, I mean, that was the big surprise to me that kind of stood out. Be like, he only really played a little bit last year. And so to me, that was a big jump when you had a lot of, I mean, there was guys.
Friday's been around.
Yeah. And, and then you had some guys that didn't make captain that have really been around on the team. Hickman, I don't think made it, right?
No, Hickman wasn't.
And, you had a couple other guys.
Harrison was last year. He wasn't this year. Mitchell was last year. He wasn't this year.
Yeah. So it's like, that's that definitely is showing a lot on him. And it seems like it's well deserved the way that they've talked about him.
Yeah, I agree.
And then, big one on Sonny Styles. He was just
we're
like, I don't,
it's so hard because you see what he is, and it's so hard not to get it like super excited and be like, oh my gosh, we got a 6'4" freaking just like
monster
unicorn back there. And you got like, you have to stop yourself and you got to remind yourself he's 17 years old. He has 8 guys in front of him on the depth chart.
Like this guy,
you gotta calm down.
Like, can this guy play defensive end, linebacker, and safety? Like,
I mean, I think he can contribute this year special teams though.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to be afraid if they get up enough on some lesser opponents or even some better opponents. They're not going to be afraid to get him in to get him some meaningful snaps.
Yeah. I mean,
to him, not meaningful in the game.
I mean, talk about, well, I mean, you would think about, I mean, if you keep everybody, you think what that back could be, next year when I mean, of course, Styles could be, moved up some depending on what his weight ends up being. But like, I mean, you could have a Kai Stokes, a Sonny Styles. You got Jair Brown, Hancock, John. It's JJ Johnson, right? Or Jake Johnson. And then you got Denzel. And it's like, I mean, that back half of that defense could be very brutal next year.
Yeah.
Just how talented they are.
And I know everybody and their mother, Sonny Styles is going to project as a linebacker. His frame's too big. He's going to grow and be a linebacker. Very, very possible.
Yeah.
But the thing you got to remember is Jim Knowles plays 2 linebackers. He's been very clear. I played 2 linebackers, and he likes his linebackers being on the field for the majority of the game. So you got to find a way to get CJ Hicks on the field. Chip Trainum, you're assuming, by then is still playing. Steel Chambers, can Steel come back? I think so. Yeah. Cause he comes in at 19, right?
Yeah.
So 19, 18, 20. So technically he gets his COVID year.
Yeah. He gets COVID year.
So yeah, I mean, or would this be it? 19, 20, 21, 22. No. So he gets one more year.
No.
So, Tommy probably is going to be back next year. Gabe Power, CJ Hicks are, one's a 5-star linebacker. The other one's close to a 5-star linebacker. So, I mean, Sonny Styles,
Reed Carrico. I mean,
Reed's there. Yeah. I mean, exactly. If they can get him to play a safety effectively under Jim Knowles' defense, I wouldn't be so sure that he isn't some sort of like Isaiah Simmons type player that he gets a lot more reps at safety than what people were thinking, because there's a lot there right now in front of him in both of those rooms.
Yeah. Eliano, there was a follow-up question, thought maybe he'd play, and like, he kind of, he did poo-poo that, we'll
it's
see.
Fluid.
It's fluid. So, obviously, the kid's 17. He should be, he should have played his first high school game of the senior season, last weekend or this past weekend. So, like, that I'm sure he's making plenty of mistakes, but he looks the part. And that was the funny thing. He looks like when he says he's 22, because he's like mature and stuff. And I'm like, how much does he really look like he's 22? I don't want to know what the kid's going to look like when he's 22, because he looks big enough to be 22.
Well, when he's 22, he's going to be in an NFL uniform. So we're not going to get the pleasure of, seeing what he does to people in Ohio State when he's 22. But no, I made the comment to you because they put up the barbecue with the entire secondary. It was him and Walton, both their groups. And I'm like, Sonny Styles is a head taller than the entire group, and he looks angry, man. Yeah. Like everyone else is smiling, and he looks just strict business.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I picked him out in the team photo too, and he's just dead. I'm gonna kill you glare stare in his eyes, man.
So yeah, looking forward to getting that onto the field. All right, anything else you want to hit on the Eliano stuff?
No, it was a really good press conference, though. I definitely think, keep that guy there as long as you possibly can. The recruiting is going to catch up with everything else. And I got to say, these were Knowles. When it comes to the press conferences, I like Knowles too, though, because he likes to teach people. Like, he's a good, he's good in the press conference. He's got a good personality. Tim Walton might be the most laid back out of the four. But I definitely think, these are home run hires, man. Yeah. I like all their personalities. You can tell these guys they're all going to be able to recruit. Yeah. And Knowles, if he's half as good as, what we're hoping, we're going to get big things.
Yeah. All right. Well, so obviously next week, our show next week is going to be pretty much wall to wall Notre Dame stuff. So,
whatever we hear from Heartline.
Yeah. Whatever news, we'll probably talk a little bit about Dave's press conference, whatever press conferences we get next week with that. But it's game week press conferences, so those will be a little different. So we'll talk about those.
We did find out about Cameron Babb this week too. That he did have a setback, but it's not season ending.
No, so it seems like he'll be out at least a few weeks. Could be out maybe the whole week or whole month of September.
You got to play it safe. It's just like, I can't give that kid any direction or advice on what he needs to do with his career. Only he knows how to do that. But at a point, the offense well enough. You're a good enough athlete. No more practice. You got to go out there during a game. Yeah. Keep yourself loose, whatever you got to do. But you can't risk hurting yourself anymore.
Yeah.
You got to catch your touchdown this year, Cam.
Yeah. So it'll be a lot of Notre Dame next week. We want to do our season prediction outlooks, just what we think is going to happen this year. So we will start off with that. We are going to start off on the offensive side of the ball. So we'll go offense, defense, and we'll do some Ohio State Buckeye centric team stuff. And then we'll look at the bigger picture across the whole landscape. So, CJ Stroud. So we'll start there. I think the biggest thing on the predictions is, is he going to beat Dwayne? Is he gonna throw for more than 50 touchdowns this year?
No.
What do you think? Where you kind of think he's going to fall at?
45, 48. He'll be damn close. I think he's going to have more time this year where he's again, out early in games. Of course, Toledo and Arkansas State, he could put up 6-7 against either one of them in a half.
Yeah.
So, that's a good bump right there. And it's not like he's not going to get close to Dwayne. 50 is such a hard number, especially when you're trying to kind of reestablish your run game as well.
Yeah. And a lot of you got to think about that year is that, there was several games where the defense really got challenged a lot. So Dwayne was probably in there.
Oh yeah.
Fields would have easily, shouldn't say easily, but if Justin was allowed to play at the same lengths in 2019 as Dwayne did, he probably would have got over 50 touchdowns. And
close,
he was close to begin with. And
he had 40, right?
Yeah. So I think if he would have played the same amount of time, he probably would have gotten at least another 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Not, a few more. But
I don't know.
A lot of those games he was out in the second half. And I think that that's kind of where I really do have a feel that this team is going to be kind of like a 2019-ish feel team, that the defense is going to be a lot better than they were. Cautiously optimistic that they're going to be even better than what I think that they're going to be, that, they might be almost to the point that they are back as a defense. I really like where a lot of the stuff seems like it's going. It's just now we kind of have to see it on the field.
Actually, hold on, I might take that back. He might get 50 because I'm under the impression he's going to play one more game than
That's
so actually, yeah. Let me backtrack that. Throughout everything, he'll get in the same amount of games. No, I think Dwayne ends up with more touchdowns than him through 14.
Yeah,
but through 15, I think he'll end up tying, or no, I'll say he surpasses. I'll say he gets 52 this year.
Yeah, and Dwayne played what? So yeah, he played 14 because he played a bowl game. So 13 with the Big Ten championship, and then he played a bowl game. I think he probably will be at that 45 to 48 range. If I'm going to be predicting he's going to play an extra game, so he's going to be somewhere in that, I'm going to say 48 to 52, 53 range. So he could do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I think obviously we're in agreement that all passing records for the team this year, any category is going to CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I think
touchdowns, yards. Yeah, CJ's getting all.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll have a better completion percentage than last year? What was it, like 71?
I mean, that's hard.
Best ever.
Yeah,
in Ohio State history.
I mean, that is hard to pass, but I think he will. It's because he puts it on the money, and he's got guys that can catch the ball. So I think, from what we were seeing from both JSN and Marv, is they both catch the ball fairly well, and it seems like Abuka's the same type of. And he just catches a lot to him. I mean,
good hands.
Yeah. So I think he probably will be in there. Running back. So do you think that one of these two guys, it's going to be, Henderson's the starter and Mayan's going to get significant playing time as the two. So this could be either one. It could be maybe Mayan passes him back over because maybe Henderson's just not quite as ready for the thing. Do you think one of them on their, what's more likely is one of them going to get to 2,000 yards, or are they going to easily pass? I mean, they're going to easily pass 2,000 yards together, I think. But can one of them get to 2,000 yards?
I don't think one's going to rush for 2,000. No, I think they're going to take too many carries from each other, but I do believe they're both going to have over 850.
Do you think the number one, whoever's the bellwether, is going to get the 1,500? Because I do think that.
Yes. Yeah. I think Trey Henderson's going to be the main guy throughout the year, and I do believe he's going to get over 1,500 yards on the ground. I just don't think he's going to get quite to 2,000, but I have him somewhere in the 1,650 to 1,800 range.
Yeah. And probably agree with that. I think he definitely gets over 1,500. I actually think that they're both going to go over 1,000. I think Mayan's going to get to 1,000 too. I just think that I think
it depends how many touches Mayan gets when the game gets out of hand, and they don't just strictly go down and hate it.
I think that they're going to be pretty even throughout the first half, or, he's going to get some significant touches. Mainly it's going to go to Trey. But I think that if they decide early, if they get out in front of teams easily and they decide early second half to get Trey out of there, I still think they're going to keep Mayan.
You got to, because he doesn't have a ton of, college reps either. Yeah. He was hurt a lot last year.
Yeah. So I think that at that point, I would think that most of the third quarters in a blowout and possibly a portion of the fourth quarter,
you keep Mayan.
They're going to keep Mayan in there just because with now prior her. I mean, you want Hayden, to get opportunities just in case, he needs to play, a significant amount of things. But, you want to give as many reps to both these top two guys now as possible, because, you know, if one of them goes down, you want the other one to be able to, you know, pick up that, you know, they might need to be a 25 carry guy for a game to, you know, because the other one's just not able to do it.
So yeah, I got mine. Well, I said he's going over 850, so he could go over 1,000, but I don't think either one's getting 2,000 on their own.
Where you think that? I'm trying to think what would be a good touchdown mark for Trey. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm giving him. I thought about earlier. I said 18 plus.
Is that both? You think rushing and catching? Because I think he's going to be
I think he'll have a couple receiving touchdowns. I don't think it's going to be like a ton, because you don't need him to get a ton. I think Trey, what he's going to do, he's going to get you a bunch of, you know, first downs. He's going to get like dump offs and stuff. He's going to move the chains through the passing game. I don't think he's going to get a lot of touchdowns. So I mean, I would say 18 just rushing.
Now, do you think? Because I do think this. So I'm agreeing with you in rushing yards, where he's going to go over 1,500. I think he's going to go over 2,000 once you add in receiving yards on top of it.
Very possible.
Because I just remember that play in Minnesota where it was just a tiny little swing pass that I don't even think he crossed the line of scrimmage. It was just a swing pass out to the outside.
Mm-hmm. No, he didn't cross the line of scrimmage.
And he just goes right upfield and he's gone.
His first touch as a collegiate athlete. Yeah.
It was basically a glorified run. I could see those. I could see swing passes.
Against Maryland, he had he had a wheel route that he took for a big touchdown, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. So
or at least a huge gain.
You think wheel routes, swing passes, screens. I mean, any one of those things, he could easily get a 50, 60 yard touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't, he has the ability to do it. I just don't think he's going to be called on a bunch, except for when they're moving the chains, kind of like how we saw like Trey Sermon being used in the pass game. Like he can get a huge chunk of yardage from it. I just don't think a lot of it is going to convert into touchdowns, but I do think he's going to rush for 18 at least.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, I think it's just going to be so much.
18's a big number with what you have.
Well, I mean, I was kind of thinking maybe more like 15. But I think that it's in that range. Like I could see 18, possibly maybe 20 being the top half, but I think the low half's probably 15, 16 where he's gonna. Let's go where I think where he could.
If he's up to his conditioning, you got to remember, if this guy gets a 30-yard run, he's probably getting a 70-yard run because of it. I mean, there gets the point when he's at his healthiest, that he's that dynamic of a home run threat that, like you just said about that swing pass that he took that. So, I mean, if he gets a point that, the guy has like, even I'll go less 25 yards, that could easily be 60 yards because he has space to see what's going on around it.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll go tight ends first, and we'll go receivers. And then,
what do you got for tight ends?
I mean, my tight end has just been like,
what's the number? It's 30, right? Is that Hartsock has?
Yeah, and I don't think that's
not getting touched.
I think it's going to be kind of a 3-man. It's going to be a 1-man tight end room, main tight end, and then there's going to be a good rotation for number 2. I think it's going to be Stover is your tight end, and then Royer and right, that's his name.
Yeah, Joe Royer.
Yeah, Joe Royer and G. Scott are going to kind of rotate.
I think Rossi's going to get a ton of snaps because they like him in the blocking game.
Yeah.
If one of those two that are more dynamic pass catchers, if they show that they're really like good run blockers, then that changes.
Yeah.
But Rossi showed though in the Rose Bowl, he had a good pickup in that game that he showed he can catch a ball and run after the catch.
I think they're still going to use Rossi in kind of a
fullback role,
kind of like a glorified fullback role. I could see him easily coming into the game down in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of like my thoughts on that. I think Cade is going to be much more of a natural fit tight end than a lot of people think. Now, what does that mean on yards and stuff like that? I don't know. And touchdowns, like literally he might get targeted 6 times the whole season, and they could all be touchdowns.
Right.
Like, so I mean,
that's usually
how
it goes anymore
for the Buckeyes, that that they just don't get thrown to enough, that when they get thrown to, they're lost, and somebody's they're lost right there.
And that's going to happen again because you got so much talent on the offense.
So I mean, I think Cade's going to lead the team in touchdowns, or for the tight ends, he's going to lead the team in touchdowns. And I think, I think both Royer and G. Scott are both can be really, really good and hard to defend against. Especially that I just don't know for any of the three what kind of mismatches those bring, just because, I mean, everything in your back of your defense, both from the linebackers and the secondary, is going to be focused between the receivers and the running backs, because, any one of them can kill you. I mean, the linebackers, who are they going to be worrying about? The linebackers and safeties? Are they going to be worried about an Ohio State tight end that never gets a pass thrown to him? Or are they going to be worrying about Trey Henderson?
Right, exactly.
So like that, I think that there's not going to be a heart sock there, but I think that they're going to damage plenty of teams when they get the opportunities just to do it, because no one's going to pay attention to them, and they're all ballers. So
I'll say leading tight end has 3 touchdown catches.
Yeah, I think that's probably right around there. Like, I mean, I do mean that, Stover, or he could be.
So I think Cade's going to have.
He could be targeted 6 times, and all 6 could be touchdowns. Right. But I think he'll be in that 4 to 6 range.
He's not even making hella plays though.
Yeah,
that's exciting. I mean, they said like he caught a huge wheel route he took for like a big touchdown. I think they said it was like a 60-yarder.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ryan Day, I think this playbook is going to be so open because, Stroud is a year older. And I think, and Ryan Day, I think, like I said, I really think this is going to be kind of this 2019 feel, where you're going to see games where they're playing more 12 personnel. You're going to see games where they're playing more 3 wide receivers. And he's just going to want to keep it so hard on defensive coordinators to try to guess of what his thought process was. And that's what they did in 2019. They just, I mean, you think about all the different formations they showed that year, and I think it'll be much of the same what they're going to do.
I think there is a good chance that if the run game, if it's showing that it's struggling in short yardage again this year, I do think that there's a good chance that the tight end does become more involved in the offense. I think Ryan Day is not going to mess around with moving the sticks with short passes.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. I think, and that's, I hope to God the run the he
did
short
a little
yards
too much last year that he waited till 3rd down to do a short pass, and I
hope the short yardage run running is back. But I could see him he could use 1st or 2nd downs and short yardage with passing to tight ends and stuff, or do pick routes and different things that just to break the back of the defense, and that will help the running game. That get the running back game back to where it needs to be in short yardage, because just throw another option out there. So I know I agree with you. All right, wide receiver. So I think we know who the 2 top guys are. I mean, it seems like it's pretty understandable. It's JSN and Marv. And then there could be a good rotation in there.
Yeah, it seems like there will be.
Seems like Ibuka is probably the next guy, the 3rd guy, but it seems like it seems like Fleming's been impressing a lot. Ballard's been impressing a lot at different times. So there could be different.
Got some freshmen in there.
Yeah,
Cam Babb, if he can be healthy.
Yeah, it seems like Babb was looking pretty good. It's just got hurt again. So let's do touchdowns, I guess. I mean,
who leads?
I mean, I think it's going to be It's going to be Jackson. He's going to get the most touchdowns.
I'm saying Ibuka. I just have a feeling. I think Marv is going to be, kind of like short yardage touchdown guy, like red zone. And so it might end up being Harrison, and very well could be Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, he's the best receiver in college football. So very easily, I think Ibuka he offers a little bit more kind of like what, we've come to custom to for a number 1 receiver, that he can score further away on like a deep pass than maybe what Jackson Smith can do as far athletically going up and getting a ball. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't show us he do anything wrong, getting open, catching contested balls, anything. So it's hard for me to say that, but I just have a feeling that it's going to be Igbuka that I just think he can kind of do more, on like a 50-yard bomb to the end zone that he can, high point it, come down with it.
Yeah. No, I agree with all of
but
that.
Marvin Harrison can do that. Jackson Smith and Jigba can do that.
The reason why I think it's going to be JSN is just that I think, and this is just some of the stuff we've heard in practice and stuff. And, I think there's going to be plenty of times where he is just a pure slot receiver and he's going up against a safety. I also think there's going to be a lot of times it seems like that they're going to try to let him do a little Devontae Smith type, role where they're going to just put him in different places and they're going to motion him a lot.
You have to.
And, and sometimes he's going to be lining up in the backfield and he might take handoffs. I mean, who knows? I mean, all kinds of things that they could do with him. And he's just hell of a gamer and hell of a ball player that, so, I mean, I don't
receptions and yardage. No doubt he's leading the team.
Like, I don't want to put a number on touchdowns because I have always a hard time with it because like what's good for a receiver? I mean, 10 touchdowns could be, Is
that what do you have last year? About 10?
Yeah. So, I mean, but I think he's going to lead the receiving corps in touchdowns. I think he's going to lead in yards too.
Yeah. And I think he leads in receptions also.
Do we get is two of them going over 1,000 yards? Is it him?
Yes.
And one of the other guys are going, oh yeah, I agree with that too. I think he could really, he could probably, I mean, when you think what he did against Utah, now he's not going to have that type of game every week, but I think he could easily border on 150 yards multiple times this year in a game. So I think he could easily get to 1,500. And
I mean, the guy is a first down machine. So think about it. I mean, you target him 8 times, he almost has 150 yards because he gets at least the 10. And then usually he gets anywhere, between probably 12 to 15.
Yeah. No, I definitely, that's my.
So, I mean, he's on that pace.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where, he's going to be in there. And I think one of the other two are going to get to 1,000. And I think the third, whoever becomes the prominent third receiver in this offense is going to end up probably in the high, hundreds and stuff like that. I just think that there's a lot of balls to go around. And I think that, I do think that they're going to try to balance it out a little more and get the running game going. But, I don't think they're going to be scared to, I think Ryan Day is really going to want to put people away early this year. I mean, I think that was one of the hardest things he really had an issue with. I mean, he's talked about it a couple of times. The last 2 seasons, they've had a really hard time putting teams away. And then that's really hurt them getting younger guys, some, chances to get some reps and stuff like that. And I think that's a kind of a big deal to him that,
that's kind of a shot at Kerry Combs.
Yeah. Because
it wasn't his offense's problem.
Yeah. I think he wants to really put teams away and then, then he can kind of, pull back on some of these guys. So I really think whoever is the third receiver, whether that's.
Can you get 3 over 1,000? Because we're talking about a lot of points now, a lot of yards.
Because I think a lot of the
running game's got to. Trey's got to get something.
You're going to get 2 receivers over 1,000, but I don't think you'll get a third. And
you think those guys are going to be sitting pretty early?
Yeah, I think
so.
He's not going to want to risk injury. So I think,
but they're all young. They still got to get game reps. So,
yeah,
I mean, those receivers outside of JSN, they could still be in the game during blowouts.
I think whoever, whether it's
not the entire time,
whoever separates himself as the second receiver between Marv and Ibuka, I think that guy will probably sit pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then the third guy will probably, get a little bit more,
but he'll be
on field, but he'll be out. And then, because you're going to want to see what Fleming, Ballard. I mean, it's, you want to have 6 very capable wide receivers. Mm-hmm. So I think that will be the goal, is to try to get other guys on the field. Cause one of them goes down, somebody's got to move up. So
yeah.
No necessarily predictions on the offensive line. Just, all right. Are they going to be better run blocking this year?
Yes, absolutely. Paris Johnson's going to be the first offensive lineman from Ohio State drafted this year. I think we all can agree with that. But who's going to be the MVP of that line? Is it going to be him?
Yeah, it's going to be him. He's going to be a legitimate left tackle. He's going to be. If CJ Stroud wasn't on this team, I think he might be even been the first Buckeye taken this.
Well, yeah, but that's not a risky guess. Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I mean, Jackson. I mean, there's other guys there too. Yeah. I think he'll still be the second Buckeye. I think he'll be a legitimate left tackle.
So if you're going to name an MVP of the offensive line, you think it's going to be Paris Johnson?
Yeah, it's going to be him. I think Dewan's going to be a lot better than a lot of people think, though.
I think Dewan's going to be good. I think Dewan's going to get himself at least a top 3 rounds in the draft. I'm going to say the MVP, though. I got to go with Paris. But I think Matthew Jones is going to get himself a top 4 draft pick. I really do. I think he's going to be a stud at guard.
I think he will, too. I'm definitely looking forward to the line. I think that they're going to be. It sounds like from what we're hearing that they're nasty and hungry in practice, which is good because
they need to be.
That's and that will really hopefully get the running game going.
Yeah, that'll translate over into the games, and that'll get the running game going. Trey and Mayan will be very happy for that.
Yeah. All right, defensive line. LJ wants to play 12 guys. It seems like
I don't think Knowles even wants to play 12 guys total on his defense.
It seems like the depth's going to be there. Yes. I mean, they are going to play at least. They're going to have at least an 8 to 10 man rotation on the defensive line. Who leads the team in sacks, and what do you think that number is?
Oh my gosh, I keep going back and forth with this one. I mean, I think it's one of the 2 sophomore ends. I really do. I think if I remember correctly, the person that played the jack at Oklahoma State was who led the team in sacks. And Sawyer definitely has everything to play the jack, but also to lead a team as a speed rusher in sacks. I mean, I know he's bulked up a ton, so he's not just like a finesse speed guy. There's a lot of power with Jack too. JT came in last year and was already the most effective outside of Tyreek Smith, probably getting to the quarterback, even though he didn't get home a lot, but he flashed in the little moments he got, and he got there so late. So he has a year in the strength program. He slimmed down to where he can be a little bit quicker. And I think he was already, strong enough to beat a lot of linemen last year.
A year longer in LJ, so I'm sure he has got a few more moves up his sleeves than he did last year.
So I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but Jalen Tuimulau is going to lead Ohio State in sacks, and I put it at 10.5.
I think he's going to get a lot of sacks this year, even though, that other defensive end position in Knowles' defense is not necessarily a sack getter. They're kind of a 3-4 set. He wants us to be bigger guys, but I agree with you that he's going to get a bunch of sacks. I do think it's going to be Sawyer, just because I think that position is going to dictate that. But I think they're both going to get +8 sacks. So I think Sawyer's going to be in that like 10 to 12 range.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be in like 8-9 sacks.
And that's what I had. I think I had him, I put down at 10.5, and I think I had Sawyer at 8.5. So I'm with you with that.
So I think they're going to both get a boatload of sacks. And I think there's other guys on that defensive front that are going to get sacks. I mean, I think they're going to hit the quarterback a lot. And I think kind of like Knowles' whole style of defense, to confuse quarterbacks just enough to get guys home, that is really going to start translating. And these guys don't need that much extra time to get there, but they might need, they're also, none of them are Chase Young. So just to get that extra second or two, of a quarterback holding the ball, I think it's going to do wonders for them.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. It will.
I don't necessarily need a number like on this one, but are we going to finally, I mean, we know it's there because there's been flashes, but is Zach Harrison going to be the Zach Harrison that we all thought he was when he came in? You're not going to give him 10 sacks if you're giving these other guys 10 sacks, but Is he's just going to be such a disruptive player, and I'm kind of feeling like I really do think he is.
I think Zach's going to look like he did as a freshman, opposite Chase Young. That I think he had 4 sacks or something that year, but he came in and he made an impact when he came in. Zach Harrison is vastly underrated by Buckeye fans when it comes to the run game. He is a great run stopping defensive end.
He's a much better run stopper than what a lot of people give him credit for.
Yeah, they don't look at that very closely. Like, he's done great things. It is so hard to follow up, Bosa, Chase Young, and then you almost got these guys that are closer to them that came in after you. Mm-hmm. So they kind of jump you in expectations, and people are kind of like down on Zach. I don't think Zach is, better than Jack Sawyer, but I do think he will get somewhere between 4 to 6 sacks this year. I think he's a good player, and I think he's going to be very impactful when he's in the game.
Yeah. And I think so much he's a big dude. He's got a lot of strength.
He's got a lot going for him.
I think and a lot of that in this defensive, like I said, those 3 guys, other 3 defensive linemen are bigger guys. And I think he's, so much of that is like just screwing up the offensive line so much that, forces running backs to have to think too much in the running game. And he is really good at cleaning up. So I do agree that, I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, that he's just going to be that he's not going to be the main focus, I don't think, on this defensive front where maybe he's been the last couple of years. And I think that's going to help him out a lot.
I think it does help, because I think what we've gotten up to this point is, once Chase Young left, Zach Harrison's going to be the man for pass rushing. Zach Harrison's going to do it. Zach Harrison and Tyreek Smith are going to be, they're going to get to the quarterback all the time. And they didn't, whatever. And now it's kind of like Jack Sawyer and JT are going to be the dudes. And now, like, I think Zach can breathe a little bit. He could probably play a little bit more loose. And I think it's going to show.
Yeah.
Because he's not just going to ride the bench. Larry Johnson's going to get him play time.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. We'll move on to linebackers, and then we're going to go to secondary, but we're going to hold back. We're going to hold back leading tackler for the defense until the end of the defense.
Okay.
So the linebacker. So I think we're both in agreement that Steele and Tommy are the starters. That's kind of seems like where everything's leading when you talk about guys who's taken the first team reps and all that. Is Tommy, is he going to take what he did in the Utah game, and that's what he is this year?
Yeah. I mean, he was showing that throughout the season. He had bright spots. He had a rough start to the year where it didn't seem like he understood where he was supposed to be. And that we saw that with a lot of guys. There was poor coaching.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that he became more confident. He's learned to be a college middle linebacker anyways, but he has his defensive coordinator is his linebackers coach.
Yeah. And with Steele, I think Steele is going to be, I think this is just he's been moved around so much. I think this is now the year that he's settled into the linebacker position, and he's going to be able to really be a force to reckon with. I wish they would have made this when they brought him in, those 4 running backs in the room and stuff like that. I just really, really wish that they would have, all right, play running back for a year, and then maybe try to force him to transition a year earlier over there, because like, I really think if, he is going to be such a playmaker, and if he would, he might end up being one of the best linebackers in the country this year. And like, if he would have just been there a year longer, I think he would easily be the best linebacker in the country this year. I think he's just got great. He doesn't think that much. I think he really understands it.
He's got great instincts.
He's got really good instincts. That's the word I was looking for. That I think that, and then in this defense, he's going to make a lot of plays, because again, so much of this defense is about, that defensive line, especially in the run game, mucks up a lot against the offensive line. And that's the whole point of it. And it's to keep those linebackers clean and the safeties clean, so they can come up and make the plays. Yeah. And I think he's going to get an opportunity to make a lot of plays.
Okay. I can see it for sure. I think it's going to be good.
All right. Corners and safeties. So Safeties, we'll go with them first. Trying to think how I kind of want to word some of this. Like I really think that they're going to make the type of impact that we are expecting. Safety is just such a versatile position. And that's why I wasn't sure how I felt about Noel's defense until I really started realizing that, yeah, safeties can do a lot.
Yeah.
And, if they're all in the right position, then I think that, yeah, they could really impact this team.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. They're going to impact the team.
I mean, who do you think out of the three of them? All right, who leads out of the three of them? Who's the top tackler out of the positions, or out of all of them, and who's the top guy with interceptions? We'll go with that to start with.
I'm gonna say Proctor with both.
Yeah, I think
Hickman could take him for tackles. Proctor, I think I have him with 4 interceptions this year.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that. Do you think that that Cord is going to be successful enough as that kind of hybrid linebacker safety that they are going to be able? I mean, they play a lot of power teams this year.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things are going to test their strength. And we saw last year they should have brought in a third linebacker against Michigan, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Can they play that 4-2-5 this year with Cord in the game as kind of a hybrid linebacker? Against the power team.
I don't see why not. As long as he understands the assignment, which I think Cord Williams has no issue, banging with anybody. So I don't think he's going to have any problem with that. But as long as he knows that, hey, man, you got to go out there and you got to be physical as hell. You got to go hit some tackles, hit some tight ends, whatever it may be. You got to disrupt their run game. I think he'll do it.
No.
I mean, he did against Utah a little bit in the second half. So I think they'll be fine with that. It's interesting to me who they would take off the field to accomplish that, because I think it'd almost have to be Hickman.
No.
But I don't know. I mean, I think maybe it could be Proctor too, because I think Hickman and Proctor could be interchangeable.
I think
I like Proctor ceiling more than Hickman's though.
I think that maybe that whoever if they're playing against a team that has a really good deep threat wide receiver, whoever they think is probably the better deep safety will probably be the one that they keep in.
Yeah.
And then the other one will be taken out for Court.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that.
But I also could see opportunities where if they're playing a real power team and they think that Proctor and Hickman, either one of them will do fine against the tight ends, that they might take the nickel out. And,
that could be interesting, but I mean, yeah, it could happen though.
Yeah. Like, I just think if they're playing teams that, maybe that it's just a pure running team and they're not really that great at, even they don't really have good tight ends, and maybe, it's the quarterback's not that great throwing the ball. And it's just like, we're fine we want to keep all of our power safeties in at the same time.
Yeah.
I think they probably could do that.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. Outside corners. So I think the big change up for these guys are going to be that, can they handle the different coverages that, you're playing zone in different spots, you're playing man in different spots. There's going to be a little bit more complexity to it that they had to play last year, but they have a lot of really good corners. Depth might be a little bit of an issue there.
But the ones that are there are top end.
Yeah, they're top end. So there's a little bit more thinking that they had to do, but because there's going to be times that they're playing both zone and man in the same defense. And, it's just depending on the guy on your side. Do you pull off of zone to go into man because you have to, because that's what it dictates? Or, so that, I think that will be interesting how they do there. But I think that they have the opportunities, to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like, do you think, who do you think is going to lead? Like, Is the leader of interceptions, is that an outside guy or is that coming in the middle of the field this year?
You mean between corners and safeties?
Yeah, we'll say that, and then we'll say who we think who's going to lead the team in interceptions.
I think honestly, I think there's a tie. I think both Cam Brown and Proctor are going to have 4 interceptions apiece.
Okay.
I'm bullish on the turnovers. I know that there's not that Jim Knowles' defense isn't necessarily known for it, but
I think there's opportunities with this team that he's never had before. And
Proctor is a sideline to sideline guy.
yeah, I actually think that I'm really sold on. I think Burke's going to be just.
I just don't think he's going to be targeted that much. That's my thing. That's why I don't think he's going to lead the team in interceptions because I think he's a lockdown corner.
Yeah. Do you think that Cam Brown is definitely? I mean, because we talked about this before really practices started. That I kind of thought Hancock could be ready to take over as a second corner, even though Brown's going to play. That I liked everything, but injured a little bit in spring, or here in fall, so maybe that pushed him back just a tiny bit enough that Cam Brown has got that spot solidified. But like,
I think Cam Brown's the second best corner on the team, so okay. I think that's his spot.
Okay,
but I think Hancock's good enough that he's going to be in a rotation.
No, no, you can see that. I agree with that. Now, so you think there's a tie between the guys that are leading the interceptions going to be between Proctor. Yes. I actually think Proctor is going to lead the team on interceptions. I think that Cam Brown's a good cover corner too, and Denzel is a lockdown corner. I don't think the outside guys are going to get targeted a lot at all.
Yeah,
and they play. I mean, I know there's a couple teams on the schedule that have some good receiving cores. I think a lot of the safety, I think the way Knowles' defense is, a lot of the safety nets are going to be trying to get to tight ends and to, running backs, because I don't know if they're just going to have the time to really target some of those receivers. Maybe, slot receivers are different. So I really think those guys are going to be fine on the outside, and there's not going to be a lot of balls thrown out to them. So I mean, I kind of think that Proctor's going to end up getting like 5 interceptions. That, he's just there in the middle of the field, and,
takes any home. Yeah, does he house any?
Yeah, because he's going to jump in front of 1 or 2 of them, and that
can't wait for
there's
it.
nobody going to be there to stop him.
Cannot wait for it. I like 5. That puts him in that Malik Hooker territory. Yeah. What Hooker have in 16? 6 or 7?
I thought it was like 6 because
he took 3 to the house.
Yeah,
he might have 7 because he gets 1 against Clemson.
Okay, yeah,
I want to say 7.
One of the lone good things about that Clemson game.
Conley got 1 too in the first series of the game.
Yeah.
That game should have been much different.
Yeah. All right. Tackles. Who do you think leads this team in tackles?
I got to go Eichenberg. I think it's I know Hickman did last year. I think it's all kind of rejuvenated. I think Tommy Eichenberg is going to lead the team.
I think I actually have been bouncing back and forth, so I'll be opposite on you. I think it's going to be Steele. I think that they're both the whole style of the defense when they're running the ball, it's about getting the 2 linebackers and the 3 safeties up to hit people. And I just think that and it tries to force guys to bounce the ball. And I just think that those either or they're going to be in those positions. And I just think Steele is going to be I think he'll edge Eichenberg
a little bit more athletic, able to get there a little bit quicker. Yeah. I mean, I could see it.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Steele there. All right, so let's quickly just about Ohio State's just things. I mean, we both have them in the Big Ten championship game. Are they going undefeated in the regular season?
Yes, I have them undefeated in the regular season.
I do too. I think there's going to be some challenges in the schedule, but I think the challenges in the schedule actually really helps them because there's not really a lull time in the schedule. And I think that, when they've had challenges in their schedules before, outside of last year, it's good teams on their schedule they've been fine against. And, and I don't think we're going to have a repeat of last year. It's always that it's always that Purdue or Iowa when you don't expect Iowa to be good. That's who jumps up and gets them when they're looking past somebody. And there's going to be, I mean, obviously you still got Rutgers and Maryland, and you've got teams on the schedule that you could look past and they can get you. But they have so many good teams on the schedule that I just think that, and they're going to be very ultra focused because of last year, that I just don't see it. So yeah, I see them easily 12-0. I think we both have them winning the Big Ten. What do you think on? What do you think? Who's playing them from the West?
This is hard for me because I mean I have Wisconsin and Iowa getting a loss to them obviously during the regular season and conference. The West is always like, I just don't like the West, man. It's always like, like Minnesota. I know, like the West. The thing about the West is that none of them are spectacular. None of them are extraordinary, but they can all play games with each other.
Yeah.
So it's so hard because they knock each other off.
Outside of Illinois,
I'm saying Wisconsin. This feels like a Wisconsin year, so we're going to play them twice, just like we did in 2019.
Outside of Illinois, I mean, they probably are all very capable of winning the West.
And who knows? I mean, Bielema's capable of, he plays their style of football. He's capable. He's probably winning a couple games.
Yeah.
Like look at Nebraska. They lost 8 games by a touchdown or some shit like that last year. Like,
yeah.
I mean, they could easily turn that around and win the West. Who knows? Maybe not easily. That might be a stretch right there. But Pat Fitzgerald, he might have one of his friggin' crazy seasons that Northwestern comes out of nowhere and wins it.
And actually, that is actually probably the one game.
But then we play them too.
That's probably the one game on the schedule that
you don't like it?
That is the Purdue game of this year to me, just because that's
what everyone said in 2019 also.
That was
they beat their ass like 55-3 or something like that.
They're in that spot right. I believe they're the week after Penn State, and it's just like right when we get through that Iowa, that Michigan State, Iowa, Penn State, 3 games in 4 weeks, right there in the middle. Then you go play Northwestern in Evanston. You're going to be running through a jungle. They're going to have it wet and long the grass, and
absolutely.
So that I think they're going to beat them, but I do think that's probably the trap game on the schedule. Even though they're not really expected to be good, and that's what makes it even more of a trap game. But Josh Perry, I was listening to, he was on with 97 The Fan today, and he was talking about, he actually thinks Purdue is kind of his team that, and I wasn't ever really thinking about Purdue, but they do bring a lot of guys back. They did do pretty well last year in spots.
They don't got David Bell anymore. They don't have then the defensive end go to.
Yeah.
Karloftis. I don't know. I'm not
like I was leaning Wisconsin coming into this, so I'm probably going with them. But I'm gonna say, he talked him up. He knows football. That he knows
a hell of a lot more about football than I do.
He just did that. He just did the BTN tour,
so he got to
see
these guys every week.
Yeah, so I think they'll be my dark horse over there. But I'll go with Wisconsin. That I think they're.
Can Nebraska be a dark horse?
I don't know.
I don't trust him.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scott.
Yeah, I'm just not ready to give them there yet.
I would love for them to be, though. I would love Nebraska. I would love for them to get to the Big Ten title game. I really would.
Yeah. All right. So Ohio State goes 13-0. They're going to the playoffs. Who's joining them in the playoffs?
Okay. So I wrote this down. I scribbled these out like 30 times. I don't like my picks, but the other teams that are out there, I don't trust. So number 1 seed's Ohio State.
Okay.
They're going to match up first round. Number 4, Oklahoma, which I hate because I don't know how Venables. I know Oklahoma, they recruit well. Like Oklahoma's recruited like so well in the whole picture of the Big 12 that they should have been undefeated every year under Lincoln Riley. Maybe not 2017, but every other year after that, they probably should have been undefeated under Lincoln Riley. So I think he has a good enough defense that he can win. I just don't know how dynamic his offense is going to be. So I don't know if he's going to be able to pull out every single one of those slugfests that he's going to be in.
Yeah.
Or if his offense is going to be able, once someone is scoring, is he going to be able to trade with them? So I am a little scared on that, but I really just don't trust anybody that's out there. So I'm saying they're 4, Alabama's 2, and then Clemson's 3, which again, I don't know if I love Clemson at 3 because Venables is gone. So I don't know if their defense is going to pick up the slack that, their offense might have this year. But that's where I'm going. Ohio State, Oklahoma, Ohio State wins, Alabama versus Clemson, Alabama wins. And that's my national title game.
All right. So I have the Buckeyes in at 2. I think they go undefeated, but I also think Alabama's going undefeated. So Alabama is going to be, they're the top seed coming in. They're going to ride that and go all the way to number 1 and be the number 1 team. And this now, I think Alabama. So I have Clemson being way up there and having only a loss. Somebody's going to get them. And they're going to get left out because of that, because I think Georgia's going to be undefeated and Alabama's going to knock Georgia off. And
but they're both undefeated. Are they rematching in the first round?
Yep.
They should.
Georgia will be the 4th seed. And the reason why I think they're going to be the 4th seed, and I don't have their schedule in front of me, my dark horse to make the playoffs, and I think it's going to be the 3 seed, is I think USC is going to go undefeated. I have them there. I just don't know that first year under Lincoln if they could beat Utah. I like the team that they got. They have the talent there. He's a good coach. Is he as good as a coach as everybody likes to say he is? Not ready to crown him that yet. I think that for some reason Lincoln Riley always gets put as like the 2nd or 3rd best coach in the country, and then like Ryan Day's at like 5th or 6th, and I'm just like, what has Lincoln Riley done that Ryan Day has not done? And no, I think Ohio State is going to play USC in the first round, and they're going to beat USC. I think Alabama is going to beat Georgia for the 2nd time in 2 weeks or 2 games,
right?
And I think we're on a collision course of an undefeated Alabama and an undefeated Ohio State to play each other in the national title.
So, yeah, I think with mine, I don't know if it was clear or not. I do believe Ohio State's the only undefeated team going into that game, because there's no way in hell an undefeated Alabama's number 2 going into that. So I hope everyone's, I hope that was clear. I have a 45-42 Ohio State national title.
Yeah, I would
15-0.
I think I think it'll be probably a little lower of a scoring game. I think it's going to be kind of like in that 35-31 range, where I think it's going to be a real shootout. But where I really think the last team that gets the ball, like I could see it being 31-28, and Ohio State gets the ball last and scores a touchdown with 30 seconds left in the game.
Yeah.
Like something like that. But that's the way I'm going. I think that I think the Buckeyes defense is going to be significantly better this year, that they're going to get better as the year goes on. And maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid right now, but I think they're a top 15 defense, and that's really all they need with this offense. I think that, I know there's a lot of love for Bryce Young and stuff like that, but I just think that CJ Stroud's a better quarterback than he is. And not saying he's a bad quarterback. He's probably the 2nd best quarterback in the country. But that's just my thoughts. CJ Stroud he's the number 1 pick coming off the board next year. I think he's going to be the top pick. So and I think he's going to win the Heisman. I think that. Well,
that was going to be next.
Yeah. We'll go right into it. It's the big thing on the thing, but no, I think he's going to be the next Heisman Trophy winner for Ohio State. And I just think he'll have all the numbers in this offense, and they're going to win all the games. You agree on that? Do you think he's going to win it?
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at the odds today. So I'll give you a dark horse also. I don't like CJ Stroud in no universe should have ever been number 4 in the Heisman voting last year. Like, that was complete, just utter ridiculous nonsense. And I know Hutchinson beat him in the head-to-head, but no way in hell should he have been 2. And no way in hell should Kenny Pickett, when Stroud had better numbers than him in less games.
Yeah.
No way in hell Kenny Pickett should have been ahead of CJ Stroud either. He should have finished 2 last year. And I really do think, I think he is the type of person that takes that stuff seriously. When he says this is how villains are created, I believe every ounce of that. That wasn't just trying to get hype, trying to get likes, clicks, whatever on socials. I think he means it. And he's been working out a hoss this year. I mean, the guy's put on 5 pounds of muscle, he said. So he's up to like 220. Like he looks huge. And yeah,
it says it's the fastest he's ever been.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's doing weightlifting and yeah. I know that doesn't always translate to speed, but sometimes it does with sprinting. So yeah, and I think he is going to take those moments this year when it's open for him. He's going to use his legs to pick up first downs, which he didn't, do a ton last year. That he relied so much on his arm, but I think he's going to take what the defense gives him. I think he's a smarter quarterback, stronger, a year older, knows the offense better. So I don't see any reason why he's not going to win the Heisman this year. But I'm going to give you a dark horse because I think their offense is good enough. Because I didn't like what I saw. Like I think Caleb Williams could win the Heisman.
No,
but Lincoln's guys, they've always been, transfers from a different program. He's gotten them later in their careers. Caleb's a true sophomore. And I know he transferred with Lincoln, but I think this guy's offense around him is good enough. I think he's good enough. He's just as young, just as green, but he's got to get the opportunity to play. But I think that the record will set up that JJ McCarthy has a chance to win the Heisman if they let him play. I really do, because anyone else I saw on there like Quinn Ewers, they're not going to win enough games. Bijan Robinson, they're not going to win enough games. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have guys that are going to be on undefeated teams that are going to be like really top end players like Stroud and Bryce Young. But Michigan is poised that they could go to Columbus undefeated. And if McCarthy is your starter for the year, I think he might have the stats to be in the conversation.
No, I agree with that.
That's a dark horse.
I agree with that. I just think
that's a total, like, if you want to win a ton of money, bet that.
They gotta give him the ball first, and then they gotta open up the playbook second, let him get it there.
Sure. Yeah.
But I could see that. There was one more thing I wanted just to kind of go over, but now I can't really think of it. We'll get this thing for a second before we go out. Yeah, I can't remember what it was going to be. Oh, double digit wins. You think that I'm going to set the thing at over under 10.
Do they win games by double digits?
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I actually think they're going to win for sure 13 over double digits. Double digits would mean 10. I think that there could be a couple tough games in there, but I think that they just have too much on offense that as long as the defense, and I think we both agree the defense is going to be a lot better, that, they should be able to pull away from teams and win probably the whole regular season plus the Big Ten championship game by double digits or more.
I would think so. I mean, that's pretty much what they did in 19. And I think you're just kind of on a similar, projection.
No. All right. Any other predictions you want to hit before we go?
I think we covered a lot there.
Yeah. All right. Let's get on out of there.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for stopping in tonight to the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
OH.
IO.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Buckeye Bar Guys on Buckeye Bar Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that all notifications bell so you see when new content is added. And please remember to like and share so we can grow our audience. Don't be afraid to comment. We want to know what you're thinking, and we want to know what content to add for you guys. OH.
IO.